Welcome back to Book Break. We are kicking off Independent Bookshop Week with a visit to BookBar. So Independent Bookshop Week is all about encouraging you to go and visit your local indie bookshops, go and give them your support, and I'll put a link below to a website where you can go and find your local indie bookshop. But one of my local indie bookshops is BookBar, so I've come here today. This is Chrissy, who is the founder of BookBar. Can you tell us a little bit about the shop?
Yes, thank you so much for having me. It's really exciting to be part of your Independent Bookshop Week celebrations, and I am the biggest indie shop and indie retailer champion, so it's just fun to have a whole week celebrating independent bookshops. So thanks in advance for all your support. I would love to tell you a bit about BookBar. We are a bookshop, we're also a wine bar, and we are an events and social space as well. And our whole ethos is about celebrating the social side of reading and bringing people together through books.
Yeah.
And just to really encourage people to come and hang out. It's a small space, it's not the biggest bookshop in the world, but the aim is that people, can stay and enjoy and relax and be here for as long as they feel they'd like to be. We have a big sharing table down the middle of the shop, which we're sitting at now, and it's great. People come and sit, on their own, have a little read, and then get chatting with the person opposite them about what they're reading, and it feels really social.
And it really works. It's so lovely. I've had evenings here drinking wine, chatting about books.
Yeah.
It's just fantastic. For people who don't live near the shop, you have a book club.
So the way that the book club works is that you get a book every month with which we choose. Then we interview the author via a virtual event. So you get a link, and there's a chat bar, you chat on the chat bar. Being a book club member also gets you extra perks. So for Independent Bookshop Week, we're going to be giving extra discount in shop and online to all of our book club members. So throughout Independent Bookshop Week, if you're a book club member, you'll get that perk.
Brilliant. Join the book
Yeah.
club. So I actually set Chrissy a challenge before coming here today, which was to create a books and drinks pairing.
Yes, so we actually do this every month, as we have a book of the month, which is always a hardback. It's separate to our book club, and we always choose a book and we pair it with our wine of the month. And so I've chosen a few of our recent books of the month, but also a few just sort of extras. It would be totally remiss of me to not start with a Macmillan book. So Our Wives Under the Sea by Julia Armfield is the most brilliant book. It is so good. Julia just writes with this incredible tension, but this warmth and humour as well. I guess if I was kind of putting it in a genre, it would be a kind of queer horror novel.
Yeah.
But it also has so many elements from different genres, and she kind of plays with form, and it's
so clever.
Such a clever book. So the essence of it, for those who haven't read it, is that it's about a woman whose wife goes on a deep sea mission. She's a scientist, and she goes on a deep sea mission in a submarine. She's supposed to be gone for 2 weeks, but she doesn't come back for about 6 months. And in that time, things are really weird. She can't get hold of the company that her wife works for. You also, when she comes back after 6 months, and you know from the beginning that she does come back, things are weird.
Yeah, really weird.
Really weird. And so you can see it's kind of got this horror, this sort of themes of horror, and also the kind of plot of a horror novel. But it's also really about grief and what it's like to lose someone who's still there.
Yeah, absolutely. It broke my heart.
Yeah.
Because when Leah is the wife that goes missing and then comes back, and she comes back not herself, and they mean that in a slightly supernatural way.
Yeah.
And so you go through grieving, and you get these flashbacks of what their relationship was like before, and I felt like I was really missing Leah, this Leah that we never really got to meet properly.
Yeah, yes, it's amazing. You get their love story as well. For such a sea-led book, I thought it would be good to pair this novel with something that just kind of feels like you're on the coast or near some salt water. Something that's gonna, if you'll pardon the pun, immerse you in the story and the setting, and because it is a really immersive novel with this pardon the pun again, this undercurrent of tension. Every time I it started by accident, and now I just say it every time. With this, we have this really lovely, crisp, fresh, slightly minerally Gavi, which is from Italy. Yeah, and it's got this kind of like mineraliness, which would be the perfect pairing. It just transports you. It's a perfect summer drink as well. So we are in the right season for it, even if the weather doesn't seem to be taking us there. The wine can.
I love the way that you talk about it, the kind of the tastes fitting with the feeling that the book gives you. It's so
about
perfect.
feeling, isn't it? Because books are about feelings. That's the other thing. Like, books are so much about our emotions, and so is food and drink.
Yeah.
You know, where does it transport you? Where does it take you? How does it make you feel? Like, these are all questions we're asking when we're, you know, what are you in the mood for? I ask that when I'm thinking about my dinner, but I also think about it when I'm thinking about what I want to read.
Yeah,
you know.
Yeah.
So the next one I thought would be really fun is Akwaeke Emeze's "You Made a Fool of Death with Your Beauty," which is actually our book of the month last June when it came out, and
I haven't read this one.
Oh my goodness, it's so good. It's really sexy.
Okay.
Like, really sexy. Just read the first page and you'll know what I mean. And it's about a woman who is grieving the loss of her partner. She is back kind of trying to get into some sort of like dating scene again. But she is also still struggling with that grief, and she gets this amazing opportunity she's kind of seeing this guy, and she gets this opportunity to go and stay on this private island that his dad owns. I know, and it's like she's like very normal, and it's like, wow, like this, obviously I can't say no to this opportunity. When she gets there, things start to go wrong, and particularly when she begins to have feelings for someone that she definitely shouldn't. Okay. I don't want to say any more.
Yeah, I love it already.
Yeah, and what better pairing for a romance novel that is the most summery, kind of sexy book? What better pairing than a rosé? And a very pale, crisp one at that. It's actually from the south of France, but this was the wine that we paired with it when we did our book of the month, and it is, like you'll see, just like so pale and delicious and fruity. It's so nice, and I'm such a fan of this rosé. And what is even better is that it just looks so great with the cover.
That's so good.
It's like my top, I'm realising, but it's a combo. So my next pick is actually, I didn't do this wine pairing, or at least we did it in collaboration with someone else. Okay. But sometimes we get our book of the month author to help us select the wine.
Fun.
So this was fun. We asked Dolly Alderton what her favourite wine was, and she said, I want a crisp, buttery, oaky Chardonnay.
Lovely.
And so,
it's my favourite kind of wine.
yeah. But I was also a bit like, Chardonnay, you definitely used to not be that popular.
Yeah.
So I was a bit like, okay, that's gonna be really tough. Oh no, this Chardonnay has gone down so well. It's from the south of France, called Les Péretins. And yeah, also from the south of France, Pays d'Oc. I can't say that very well, but
sounded good to me.
Yeah, it's actually probably on the crisper side of a Chardonnay. Okay. So it's got like this, lots of texture, a depth to it, a butteriness, and so we paired this with Dolly Alderton's collection of dating columns from her Sunday Times style weekly column, Dear Dolly. So that was really fun.
For me, Chardonnay is so linked to my mind to Bridget Jones. And so it's quite a good comparison as well, the kind of the dating columns and the Chardonnay. That's just kind of, those two things are linked in my head.
I hadn't thought about that, but that's even better. Yeah. I love that. I love that. So the next one is a book that I think it already has quite a lot of people talking.
Yes, it does.
And I read it a few months ago, I think now, and I read it like in a weekend, like just unstoppably. It's called Everything's Fine by Cecilia Rebess. It is about a black woman. She goes to college and she's kind of she is very like philosophical, like thinks really kind of politically, thinks really sort of very left wing in terms of her own politics. And she at college often spars intellectually with this guy who has completely different ideological positioning to her, I would say. They end up working for the same investment bank. They're both really bright, but Jess is facing a lot of discrimination at work, and she ends up having to rely on Josh to help her. And they form a friendship that becomes something more. It's so readable and so compelling.
Yeah.
It's also really challenging.
Before we put the cameras on, we were talking about this one and kind of just like delving into it. There's so much in this book that, exactly as you say, it makes you question yourself, it makes you question your assumptions, what you think about other people. It's a controversial book, it's a divisive book already. Definitely people it's a book club book. You'll have heated discussions. People are going to react to this book differently depending on who you are and your life experiences. You are going to have some kind of different reaction to this book. So you have to read it to find out what you think, what your reaction is.
Yeah, exactly. I'm really intrigued to see what people make of it.
Yeah, really intrigued.
Yeah, but the reading experience itself I thought was really compelling, and I enjoyed reading it a lot. But I also can't wait to talk about it with everyone.
Yeah, agreed.
So for this felt like a natural pairing for a very sharp espresso. And that's another thing that we should talk about, actually, is that the way that the author writes about investment banking is like, whoa. Yeah. It's like, feels kind of bold. I don't know, like it, like that as someone who has never worked for a for a big corporate company, let alone a company that like in banking or anything like that. That lifestyle and the way that those like the company in the book operates is fascinating. Yeah.
Fascinating, brutal, terrifying.
Yeah, totally. Considering the culture that's in this book, and also just like how much, I don't know, how much there is to unpick, and how like you kind of need to brace yourself a bit in a really good way.
You do, yeah.
Then an espresso it is.
Yeah, perfect.
The next book is Romantic Comedy by Curtis Sittenfeld, which was our book of the month for April. This book is just like a really joyous romantic comedy. Yeah. It's about a screenwriter who writes for a fictionalised version of Saturday Night Live. She makes an observation that her male colleagues often end up dating beautiful, intelligent guests who come onto the show. These kind of fairly average men end up with these like very successful women. Yeah. And she observes that would never really happen if it were the other way around. Yeah.
It feels like it's based on a particular Saturday Night Live cast member.
Yeah. She writes a sketch about it, but then she doesn't bank on falling for the celebrity guest in that particular episode herself. And then it kind of goes from there. It is a kind of classic rom-com in lots of ways, but Curtis Sittenfeld's writing is just great. She's such a good writer. We had a lot of fun pairing this book because we wanted something that was a bit cheeky and a bit different. Okay. And so we actually went for a biodynamic wine that is a red wine, but we serve it chilled.
I love a chilled red wine. I only just discovered this about myself.
No, me too. It's a bit cool at the moment, isn't it, to have a chilled red? But I can see why, and I'm here for it. So this is actually also, I'm loving my French wine, clearly, but this is also a French wine. It is a Grenache grape, so it's got a bit of fruitiness. It's got kind of berries. It's really fun and light and refreshing. Therefore, I think makes a fun pairing.
Feels like a perfect fit.
Yeah. And finally, a book that I really loved, and it's historical fiction, The Whalebone Theatre by Joanna Quinn. This is brand new on our menu. It's a Syrah, also from the south of France. Clearly just love myself, so my French reds, sorry everyone. It's got real depth to it, sort of cherries, plum. So you get all this like rich, juicy, bursting fruit, and then this subtle savoury depth that comes at the end. It's really lovely, and it has all the like richness of the Whalebone Theatre, which is about a group of children who in between the wars, it's set between the First and Second World War initially, and they have this kind of big but crumbling house in Dorset by the sea, and they discover a whale washed up on the beach in Dorset, not far from their house, when they're playing one day, and they turn the bones into a theatre that kind of becomes this like community space.
And such a strong image.
Yeah, exactly. And this theatre is like something that their lives revolve around until the Second World War breaks out.
Yeah.
And you watch them grow. And it is just one of those books where you're just like, oh, you know, you just feel enveloped in their lives. And it's a debut novel, and it just doesn't feel like one. Yeah, I think this wine is the perfect pairing for it.
Amazing. All of those matches seemed absolutely perfect.
Yeah, you got to try them yet.
Yeah, need to try it.
Yeah.
That's next.
Yeah.
I'm going to set you a couple of challenges. So
Okay.
I've got a few books in my head.
Okay.
So this is being mean, because without you having prepared, can you think of the perfect drink matches for these? So the first book I was thinking of, the clue is kind of in the title of this one, but you can get more specific with what you would pair. What would you pair with the book or book series Before the Coffee Gets Cold by Toshikazu Kawaguchi?
Oh my goodness.
So these are a book series, really heartwarming, cozy, lovely, tear-jerking books about a time-travelling cafe. It's a cafe in Tokyo, though one of the books is set in a different Japanese city, that has the ability to send its customers back in time. But there's very strict rules, so you have to sit in a particular chair in the cafe, a particular person has to pour your coffee, you can only go back and meet people who have previously visited the cafe, or go into the future to someone who is going to be in the cafe. So you can't get up from your seat and wander around. And most importantly of all, you have to come back to the present before the coffee gets cold. Otherwise you'll be turned into a ghost, and there's a whole other backstory behind that. So it's a very strange, quirky book series, and each one is made up of little vignettes, little stories of people who choose to time travel and why, and it's usually some regret they have, some loss they are coming to terms with, and each episode kind of helps them. You can't change anything. You can't go back and change anything. So when you get back to the present, everything will be the same, but you will have learnt something, you would have accepted something. I absolutely weep reading these books. I love them. What drink would you recommend someone would drink with those?
The lazy answer is a really delicious coffee, which is just simply because of the title and the fact that it's a cafe. That would be an obvious match, right?
Feels like a good one.
Yes. But I'm going to try and think beyond that. I think that this would be a really good pairing with a really delicious kind of citrusy iced tea.
Oh, okay. Love that.
There's something about the kind of surprisingness of the book that I think having a cold, very citrusy iced tea, the kind of the sharp fruitiness. Don't know.
That's great.
That's totally off the top of my head.
I think it's brilliant. I love that you said it, because I absolutely love these books and I don't like coffee.
Well, there we go.
Now I have something to drink. The citrusy iced tea sounds perfect, so I will actually go and do that combination.
Yeah, or like a rooibos tea if you wanted something warm.
Yeah.
You know, something, because I love rooibos tea. It's so comforting as a tea, and I think if you wanted something warm and comforting to go with it. Yeah. But if you want something sharp and cold and then they've got options.
Got lots of options. Yeah. It's brilliant. Don't have to have coffee. Okay, next challenge. What about the book Trust by Hernan Diaz?
Oh, I love this book. It's so it's actually our next book club book. So our event for that, our virtual event, will be on the 27th of June. So I'm really excited to chat to Hernan about this. Oh, okay. New York in the 20s. Glamorous, and then not glamorous at all, sort of financial crash.
Yeah. It's made up of 4 parts, and each part essentially retells the story from a different perspective. So it's sort of a book within a book, and then there's the memoir retelling that. And so each time you start from the beginning, you have to totally kind of throw out what you thought you knew about this story, these characters, and start again. It's so clever. It's
about perspective and storytelling as much as it is about the story.
Absolutely.
But it's set initially set at the height of kind of 1920s Wall Street wealth.
Yeah.
Right? It's got to be something like an old-fashioned. Just imagine these dark oak wooden bookshelves. Yeah. These characters sitting with their ink pen at their desk, having, maybe not even an old-fashioned, maybe just a whiskey. So old-fashioned.
Yeah, I think that's brilliant. Yeah. What about the book Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? It's a delightful children's book from the 70s that has just come out as a film. It's very, very cozy and funny. So I did read it as a child, not in the 70s, but I did read it as a child, and then I reread it as an adult, and I loved it even more as an adult because it's witty, which as an 11-year-old you don't realise, because it's from the perspective of an 11-year-old, and so she is taking everything very seriously. It's about her getting her first bra, not having started her period yet, and her friends have started their periods, and she wants to have started hers. These are the kind of mundane details of a life that it's about. It also has some deeper elements. It's about she comes from a family where her mother is Christian, her father is Jewish, and her mother's parents essentially disowned her for marrying a Jewish man, and that's why it's called Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Her parents have raised her without religion because of this conflict they have, and so she talks to God each night, and she's trying to work out which religion she should be, or if she believes there's a God up there at all. But she talks to God and says things like, "I've got a bra now. Can you give me something to put in it?" It's very sweet. And at the time when I read it at age 11, I didn't realise that was funny. I thought that was very earnest.
Yeah.
And then as an adult, I thought it's really, really witty and really lovely, and the film is lovely. So for something like that, for a sort of cozy children's book, that if you read it as an adult, it will take you back to how you felt being that age, but also maybe something that an 11-year-old could also drink.
Yes,
would be good.
Exactly. My first thought was like a hot chocolate. Yeah, like something warm and comforting, and it's the most cozy thing. I actually nearly said that a non-alcoholic option for the Whalebone Theatre would be a really good hot chocolate as well. That kind of like richness, and also I know I'm biased, but our hot chocolate is
it?
So good.
Gonna have to try one.
Yeah, it's so good. So like a hot chocolate, but you could also make it a mocha. If you were feeling like, as an adult, you want something with maybe a bit of caffeine, something to reflect the fact that your reading of things might have changed.
Yeah.
But it's still in essence.
Yes.
A kind of, I guess that would be like an adult version of that drink.
Yeah.
Or, if you're feeling, as an adult, maybe add a little bit of Baileys.
Ooh, yeah.
Something
great.
to just mark the fact that you're reading it in a different way.
Yeah.
And you're having a bit more fun with it this time.
You could actually have, so there's a grandmother figure in the book as well who's a great character. You could have 3 generations reading this book, and you could have the child reading it with hot chocolate, the parent with a mocha, the grandparents with the Baileys.
That's great. I love that.
Multi-layered.
Done.
Multi-layered. Great. Well, thank you so much for doing this.
This was so fun.
Great fun. I loved your pairings. I'm going to try all of them.
Yes.
And yeah, I will put links to all of the books that we talked about below. I will put links to BookBar's website and social media, so you can go and check out everything that we've talked about. And also, as I said, I'll put that link so you can find your local indie bookshop wherever you are living in the country. But do use this week to go and check out your local indie shops, buy some books, support the indie bookshops, because they're incredible.
And like physical bookshops are so important to communities, and independent bookshops are just champions of books, and the reason why we do it is because we love connecting the right book with the right reader. And the way you've just seen me pairing wine hopefully thoughtfully, and thinking hard about the right pairing for wine with book, that is what every independent bookshop in the country and every single independent bookseller is doing when it comes to your reading. They're thinking about how you want to feel when you read, and what about certain books will make you feel that, and exactly what book is perfect for you, and that is like something that I feel so strongly about, and is what makes independent bookshops such incredible places, and I'm so proud to be part of that community. So yeah, amazing. Thanks so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
I will see you next
time. Happy Independent Bookshop Week.